Hello, we're back. This is chapter 4, part 2, and we were talking about assessing competitive power of a company's resources and what kind of capabilities that they have. So when we take a look at total economic value produced by a firm, it's equal to V-C. And it is the difference between the buyer's perceived value, which is V, regarding a product or service, and what it costs, C, the firm to produce it. Competitively superior resources and capabilities are a strategic advantage with a far greater profit potential. VRIN, 4 tests of a resource's competitive power. The VRIN test for sustainable competitive advantage: if a resource or capability is valuable, rare, inimitable, and non-substitutable. V is the resource or the capability. R, is it rare or is something a rival lacks? I, is it hard to copy, inimitable? And N, is it invulnerable to the threat of substitution of different types of resources and capabilities? Social complexity and causal ambiguity. 2 factors that inhibit the ability of rivals to imitate a firm's most valuable resources and capabilities. The social complexity refers to factors in a firm's culture, the interpersonal relationships among managers or R&D teams, its trust-based relations with customers or suppliers that contribute to its competitive advantage. Causal ambiguity about how the firm uses its resources and relationships puts competitors at a loss in understanding how to imitate these rather complex resources. Managing resources and capabilities dynamically. Threats to resources and capabilities. Rivals develop better substitutes over time, and current capabilities decay from benign neglect. Disruptive changes also in the competitive environment happen. Manage capabilities dynamically. Attend to the ongoing modification of existing competitive assets. Apple is a great example of a company that is continuously reinventing and improving its products. I think we're up to, Apple 15 or 16, which is interesting because Apple has bucked the trend of the product life cycle because a product life cycle looks like a bell curve. It starts off low, it comes up high, and then there's some stasis there, and then it begins to drop down and decline. And Apple has had this product for quite a few years, and with the continuous improvements that are going on, it has bucked the system of the typical life cycle, and it's been rather extended for a pretty long time. So manage capabilities dynamically, attend to the ongoing modification of existing competitive assets, take advantage of opportunities, develop totally new kinds of capabilities. The role of dynamic capabilities. To sustain its competitiveness and help drive improvements in its performance, a firm requires a dynamically evolving portfolio of resources and capabilities. A dynamic capability is the ongoing capacity of a firm to modify its existing resources and capabilities or create new ones, improve on existing resources and capabilities incrementally, and add new resources and capabilities to the firm's competitive asset portfolio. Again, I'm going to go back to Apple iPhone. What is the difference between the first Apple iPhone that came out and the one that's today? From a technological standpoint, it's light years ahead of the initial and first product. But every single year, when Apple introduces the new model, there are improvements to it, and they are incremental, but sometimes they are rather dramatic. Question 4. How do value chain activities impact a company's cost structure and customer value proposition? Well, there are certain signs of a company's competitive strength. Its prices and costs are in line with rivals. Its customer value proposition is competitive and cost effective, and its bundled capabilities are yielding a substantial competitive advantages. So what is the concept of a company value chain? A company's value chain, it identifies the primary activities and related support activities that create customer value. It also identifies the inner workings of the firm's customer value proposition and business model, and permits a deep look at the firm's cost structure and its ability to profitably offer low prices. It also reveals the emphasis that a firm places on activities that enhance differentiation and support higher prices. Moving on, a representative company value chain. So here are the primary activities and costs. You have supply chain management, ops, distribution, sales and marketing, service, and profit margin. And contained within this, these are the support activities and the costs. Product R&D, technology, and systems development helps this. Human resources helps it, and also a general company administration. Value chain analysis facilitates a comparison, activity by activity, of how effectively and efficiently a firm delivers value to its customers relative to its peers and competitors. The value chain analysis process segregates a firm's operations into different types of primary and secondary activities to identify major components of its internal cost structure. It uses activity-based costing to evaluate activities and also requires the same process for significant competitors. An industry value chain includes a company's own internal value chains of upstream industry suppliers, value chains of forward channel intermediaries. And what are the effects of the industry value chain? Well, it's cost and profit margins of suppliers, and channel partners can affect prices to the end consumers. And we see that now with tariffs. What's interesting, there was a big fear initially on tariffs that it was going to significantly increase cost to consumers. In some product categories, goods have increased in price, but others, that increase has been absorbed. Activities of channel partners can affect industry sales, volume, and customer satisfaction as well. Here's the value chain for Everlane, and they are a clothing manufacturer. So for materials, 13 ounces of denim, which is based primarily on cotton, and 2% elastine is the cost prices there. You have the hardware, labor, the cost of goods, transport, import duties, total cost, the retail price, profit margin, and the average retailer's price. You can see the company's making significant profit on that product. And you can see from this chart, you have supplier-related value chain, companies' own value chain, forward channel value chains, etc. So when we looked at the chart for Everlane, which activities in the value chain are primary activities and which are secondary? Which activities are linked to the value chain for the entire industry? And where in the industry activity chain could Everlane possibly reduce costs without reducing its competitive strength? So these are some issues and questions that we'd have to address to see if we can improve Everlane's value chain. Benchmarking, a tool for assessing the cost and effectiveness of value chain activities. Benchmarking involves improving internal activities based on learning from other companies' best practices. Assesses whether the cost competitiveness and effectiveness of a company's value chain activities are in line with its competitors' activities. And sources of benchmarking information include market data reports from consulting companies, market analysis, publication of industry trade groups, government agencies, customers, interviews, and maybe you'll send a couple people to spy on the other company, but that wouldn't be right now, would it? But some companies do that. Illustration capsule, benchmarking in the solar industry. What benchmarks does the solar industry use in comparing costs among industry competitors? How has SunPower responded to the continued downward pricing pressure in the industry? And why is the collection of competitive intelligence to accurately benchmark delivery costs of such importance to the solar industry? A code of ethical and proper business behavior is based on the following principles. Principle of legality, exchange, confidentiality, use, principle of first-party contact, third-party contact, and principle of preparation. So these are codes to follow benchmarking and ethical conduct. Strategic options for remedying a cost or value disadvantage. Areas in the total value chain system to assess ways to improve efficiency and effectiveness. Internal activity segments. Suppliers part of the value chain system. and forward channel portion of the value chain system. Improving internally performed value chain activities. One way of doing it, implement best practices throughout the firm, particularly for high value activities. Redesign products, components, and activities to facilitate speedier and more economical manufacture or assembly. Relocate high-cost activities to external value chains to be performed more cheaply by vendors and contractors. Reallocate resources to activities that address buyers' most important purchase criteria. Adopt productivity-enhancing, cost-saving technological improvements that spur innovation, improve design, and enhance creativity. Pressure suppliers for lower prices. Collaborate closely with suppliers to identify mutual cost-saving opportunities. Work with suppliers to enhance the firm's differentiation. Select and retain suppliers who meet higher quality standards. Coordinate with suppliers to enhance design or other features desired by customers. Lastly, provide incentives to suppliers to meet higher quality standards and assist suppliers to improve. Moving on. Improving value chain activities of forward channel allies, achieving cost-based competitiveness. Pressure forward channel allies to reduce their costs and markups. Collaborate with forward channel allies to identify win-win opportunities to reduce costs. Change to a more economical distribution strategy, including switching to cheaper distribution channels. Enhancing differentiating through activities at the forward end of the value chain. Engage in cooperative advertising and promotions with forward channel allies, and use exclusive arrangements with downstream sellers or other mechanisms that increase their incentives to enhance delivered customer value. Create and enforce standards for downstream activities and assist in training channel partners in business practices. Translating proficient performance of value chain activities into competitive advantage. Managers decide to perform value chain activities in ways that drive improvements. Competencies gradually emerge in performing value chain activities. Company proficiency in performing some of these differentiating and enhancing activities to the level of a core competence. Company proficiency in performing the core competence continues to build and evolves into a distinctive competence, and companies gain a competitive advantage based on superior differentiation capabilities. Option 2, beat rivals by conducting value chain activities more efficiently and thereby achieve a cost-based competitive advantage. Company managers decide to perform value chain activities in the most cost-effective manner, and competencies gradually emerge in driving down the cost of value chain activities. Companies' capabilities in performing certain value chain activities more efficiently rise to the level of core competence, and company proficiency in performing the core competence continues to build and evolves into what we call a distinctive competence. Company gains a competitive advantage based on superior differentiation capabilities. Question 5. Is the company competitively stronger or weaker than key rivals? Assessing overall competitive strength. How does the firm rank relative to competitors on each of the important factors that determine market success? Does the firm have a net competitive advantage or disadvantage versus major competitors? Steps in the competitive strength assessment process. Number 1, make a list of the industry's key success factors and measures of competitive strength or weakness. Assign weights to each competitive strength measure based on its perceived importance. Score competitors on each competitive strength measure and multiply by each measure by its corresponding weight. Sum the weighted strengths ratings on each factor to get an overall measure of competitive strength for each firm. Use overall strength ratings to draw conclusions about the firm's net competitive advantage or disadvantage, and to take specific note of areas of strength and weakness. Here's a representative weighted competitive strength assessment where you have the different companies, and then you have the importance of the weight factor, the strength rating, weighted score, strength rating, etc. And these are the different key success factors, and then you come up with your numeric matrix. Strategic implications of a competitive strength assessment. The higher a firm's overall weighted strength rating, the stronger its overall competitiveness versus rivals. The rating score indicates a firm's total net competitive advantage or disadvantage firm relative to other firms. Firms with high competitive strength scores are targets for benchmarking. The ratings show how a firm compares against rivals factor by factor or capability by capability. And strength scores can be useful when deciding what strategic moves to make. Question 6. What strategic issues and problems merit front burner managerial attention? Which and how serious are the strategic issues that managers must address and resolve for the firm to be more financially and competitively successful in the years ahead? An important principle of strategy. A good strategy must contain actions to deal with all of the strategic issues and obstacles that stand in the way of the firm's financial and competitive success in the years ahead. Strategic priority how-to issues. How to meet challenges of new foreign competitors. How to combat the price discounting of rivals. How to both reduce high costs and prepare for price reductions. How to sustain growth as buyer demand slows. And how to adapt to the changing demographics of the firm's customer base. And our last slide, strategic priority should we issues. Expand rapidly or cautiously into foreign markets. Reposition the firm to move to a different strategic group. Counter increasing buyer interest in substitute products. Expand the firm's product line. Or correct the firm's competitive deficiencies by acquiring a rival firm with the missing strengths. Okay, well, thank you very much for listening. Have a good one.